All right. Well, uh, I'm Ray Barker. I'm an account manager here. I work with our customers from the first time, kind of there where you are, kind of looking at different companies, trying to get some answers from Citizenserve, all the way through the implementation. I'm certified project manager. Been in the IT industry 30 years, a long time. Forgive my reconstruction mess back here. Do a little remodel. And Michelin's is also with us. She's going to be doing the demo today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Right. Well, I'm going to start off with just kind of a little bit about Citizenserve, us as a company, and then I'm going to turn over to Misha and let her get started. I'm going to turn off my camera. This lighting is awful. All right, Citizenserve, we've been in business 17 years. We started right from the very beginning as a software as a service, which is very unique at that time. We were really one of the first players in any kind of a software space to move to the full software as a service model. Which means we've never had any software that we've installed locally on anyone's servers. We've always been multi-tenant, cloud-based software right from the very beginning. And the only user interface we've ever had is the browser. So we stay very true to the browser architecture. It gives us, I think, a lot of advantages. As browsers continue to grow in features and functions, we absorb those. So we try not to do anything that is contrary or to the browser or that software that you have to download. So, we work on any device, any browser. That's really the key to this. Is there's no software that you or your constituents have to download. It's always going to be up to date, so there's no updating of applications. And obviously, we've got 17 years of experience kind of managing all the technology in the background behind our software as a service. The other thing that we started with 17 years ago that is still very progressive today, I think, is we've always had a complete support model for our customers, which is very unique. Which means, once you're live, anything that you ever need to have done, we're there to do it for you, and there's never going to be a charge. And it's completely comprehensive. So if you want to, change your permits, or you want to change how your license renewals go, you want to add a field to a permit, you want your fees changed, you want to change how workflows route, you want reports or email templates added or changed or updates, or you want to change how the portal works. You need somebody trained because they came in to replace someone else, or their job responsibilities are changing and they need to be trained. We do all of that as part of your subscription, and there's never an additional charge. So we get about, you're going to see the software today. I'll talk to our customers. We got a lot in Massachusetts. They'll say, it's great software, but also the service is like nothing you've ever seen. The other thing Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions right off the bat, but I think you kind of covered them, but I just want to be sure. You said you work on all browsers and all devices, so it sizes itself for, an iPhone. You still can maneuver the screen versus a tablet or a computer. You can still get things done.
So right now, that's the portal is completely HTML5 responsive design. Okay. So Michelle will show what that looks like, which just means if you're on a iPad, the layout changes, the menu options, shrink because we're device aware. So the portal is completely HTML5 responsive design.
Okay, perfect. Operating systems. So it'll work on Android.
Any device, Windows 10, any browser,
anything.
Yep, exactly.
Anything
Yep. It doesn't matter. The operating system really doesn't matter because we don't have any software at the operating system level. It's all about the device and the browser. Okay. So we'll work on any device, any browser. No software that has to be downloaded. Yep.
Okay. So on tablets, would they be able to fill out forms in the field for inspectors? These tablets are a whole lot cheaper than PCs with Windows 10.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I have one other big question about storage. So, right now we've got a lot of information out there just in history alone. So is there a storage, disk space fee per year or per document or anything like that?
There is not. We'll store as much data as you want, and there's never a charge for it.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, thank you.
You bet. All right, I want to go ahead and do you guys have any questions about us? Well, let me go over a couple other things for you can just be aware of. So I don't know, William or Karen, if you've seen it, but we put a lot of information out on our website. Our pricing is out there. Nobody really does that. We very straightforward about that. We got demos under the demo tab if you want to see some of those, or you want to direct some people to those demos. Michelle, I'm not seeing you. Here we go.
Sorry, that was me being asleep over the switch over. I heard you talking about pricing. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to do something. Pricing is actually here. And normally I point my mouse to highlight that as Ray's talking. The demos tab is here, and I'll just click on that to open so you can see. There you go.
There you go. And then,
sorry, Ray.
That's okay. We're teaming this. And then under the live demo tab, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have two more questions that have come up. One for our legal team. So, does anybody print in the field or sign the iPad or send an email as notification to whatever, some sort of violation like a restaurant inspection or what have you?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to show that today. We've got about 25 different types of custom fields that can be configured in multiple ways on your inspections, whatever those things are. One of them are a signature field, so you can take a signature in the field. We save that signature. What was the other part of the question besides signature?
Well, the part of the question, I guess, is, more for our legal team, but I just wanted to hear what you have to say about it is that, if you have to go to court after, somebody didn't comply after 7 days or 14 days, is that, does that hold up, like having a signature on an iPad or after that signature emailing notification to the person that these are the violations and they need to be cleaned up in 7 days, or do you have to print it out and hand it to them? What are customers doing?
That's exactly what customers are doing. Based on the Federal E-Sign Act, best of my knowledge, I'm not a lawyer. We've never had anybody had any of that kind of stuff contested going paperless. And we have customers like Somerville, Massachusetts. They're like probably 98% paperless, and they have been for a couple of years.
Who did you say, Somerville?
Somerville, Massachusetts.
Everybody follows Somerville.
Yeah, they've been a customer of ours, probably 8 years or more now.
So the e-sign bill. So I'll kind of direct that to our attorneys, and maybe they can confirm that for us.
Yeah. It still needs to be confirmed by them. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Sure. And one last question before you get started is, as part of this, I know and you can talk about all the things that we can do, like building, planning, conservation, code enforcement, citizen access. One thing that I also would like to know is, do you cover business licenses?
We do, and I thought we were going to show that today, but yeah, we have business licenses, which can be for your health licenses, your business licenses themselves. So yeah, we do a lot of business.
I'm sorry, it's right on the screen. I didn't see that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
no problem.
Because that's just another module that we pay for that. If we move to something like this, we could eliminate and offset pricing.
Correct. And we don't charge by the module. When you have just by the user. So if a user has, if you have a user subscription, you have access to all of our software.
Right. Perfect.
And that's just the stuff we have today, but when we come up with new stuff in the future, like if you look under the live demo tab, we've got a bunch of demos out here. And if you wanted to search them by category or wild search, like if you want to look at our document markup tool, you can put a search in for that. When we come up with new software like this, we have our own document markup tool. We also integrate with Bluebeam and Project Docs. But when we come up with our document markup tool, which allows you to mark up plans for business permits. You can use them to mark up documents on a review process that came in through business licensing. All web-based, all integrated. So if you put an object on a plan set and you put your comments on that, it's integrated with our common comment books, and those comments are integrated back into that review step for reporting. We don't come back to our customers and charge them additional for great stuff like this. So you're going to get the things that we want. You're always up to date. We do updates every couple of weeks, happen in the middle of the night. So you're always on the latest version of the software bill. You don't have to look for some, you got some big forklift upgrade that's going to happen that you're worried about. Yep.
And
then,
I'm sorry, training. So if we were to purchase this software, how do you go about the training to get people familiar with their end of it, building versus Board of Health and that type of thing?
yep. So training is unlimited with Citizenserve at any time. So,
Wow.
but the way that we do it with like the implementation, we usually do go-to-meeting sessions just like this, and we have always done remote implementation. So we've never gone on site. So the COVID, we're not changing how we do implementations for our customers because of our current situation with COVID. It's how we've always done business. So it'll be a go-to-meeting session just like this. We try to get very small groups of people with like job responsibilities together, like say maybe it's the counter people, or maybe it's the inspectors, or maybe it's your other review staff. And then your implementation manager will walk them through the pieces of software that they're going to be using the most. Then he'll turn control over, to each person, kind of watch them go through it, coach them through, turn it over to the next person, and kind of go through it that way. So it's really, it's kind of small group, very, kind of over the shoulder. Like if we need to move your mouse or a cursor, we can use GoToMeeting to do that. And then, if we get done with the training session and either we notice or someone says, hey, I'm still not comfortable, we'll do another training session with them.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Okay, I'll quiet down for now and let you move along.
Okay. So then just the other thing I'd say about a company that I think that's important to know about us, we've been in business for 17 years. We have a much different relationship with our customers. We kind of take a very long-term relationship with our customers. And that's because we don't have any debt. We don't have any external investors. We've been profitable for the last 14 years. So there's a lot of mergers and acquisitions going on in the space. We don't get involved in that. We don't owe a VC any money. We don't owe a bank any money. So I think what you'll see about working with Citizenserve, we take a very long-term view with our customers. We want to, make sure everyone's trained, everything's working the way they want to every year. We really just do year-to-year contracts. You don't have to be locked in for a long period of time. We do that because we, believe we want to, earn your business every year. So a couple things about us. I know that sounds like a sales approach, but we don't have any salespeople here either. No one here is on a commission or a bonus. If you go to the building shows where the vendors have their stuff set up, you'll never see us those. We try to keep our prices down, and one way we do that is putting a lot of information on the web and not having a big sales force that's on commission or bonus type of thing. So anyway, that's a little. Do you guys have any questions about Citizenserve or anything I can answer there on us as a company?
This is Carrie. Sorry, I apologize. I had to step out for a minute. So if I missed it and this is repetitive, that's my fault. But what is the implementation timeline for your software? Like, how long would it take from purchase to getting it up and running?
I would say normally like something like building permits is going to be 4 to 5 months. But the way that we work with you guys is also very different. We're not going to like have you sign up to a set of requirements, have you sign off on that, and then we go off and we build it, and we come back and say, here we're done. You got 2 weeks to review it. We do a very iterative, agile type of approach with our customers because we don't really have any scope other than conversions that we're doing or integrations that we're doing. Because we'll do whatever you want at any time. So the way that we work, we'll meet with a kind of a core. Let's say we're doing the business licensing group. We'll meet with that core group of people from your end every week in a go-to-meeting session. We'll show them the work that we've done. You'll give us feedback in that meeting about maybe some of the things to change, or we'll maybe show you different ways to do something. Then we'll go make those changes. We'll do more work. And then the people that are in those meetings will all have their credentials. And it's a very important part of our process that they get hands-on every week. because you really don't know what you don't know until you're, using it. And so through our process, we get everybody hands-on every week, because you'll maybe see something in the weekly meeting and you'll think it looks good, but after you do 4 or 5 of them, you'll be like, oh man, I forgot about this. So then we just kind of make those changes, and we just keep going through that process until, your group says, yep, that's it. That's what we want. So there's no like final testing at the end. We're testing all together all the way through. You're getting hands-on, getting real, and learning about the software and trying it and practicing. So we're talking probably about 2 hours a week for those people that are going to be in those meetings. But it really varies from customer to customer. I mean, what it takes for them to go, yeah, that's right, and we work at the pace that you guys work with us. And we have some customers that, they're, cancel 2 out of 4 meetings a month, and we're not going to push you to go live or do anything faster if that's the pace that you want to work. But if you want to work with us, we want to get it done very quickly for you. But it's something that we're really doing together.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. Go ahead.
One other question. Yeah. So I know that you guys are browser based. So does that mean you have to have an internet connection at all times to be using this software? So for example, if you're out in the field.
Yeah, so if you're out in the field, we definitely encourage you need to have a device that has some kind of a data plan on it, a good data plan. But if you lose connection in the field, you don't get, locked out of doing your inspections. You can continue to do them. Many things get cached in the browser, even offline. And then when you get back to where you have connectivity, then just save it at that point in time.
Thank you.
Yep. We're also working on, so we stay true to the browser architecture, and you're right, that's part of how browsers work. It's not an application. We don't carry a database around on anyone's device. We don't try to sync that stuff up. But we're also working right now with the state of Georgia on an inspector portal, which takes advantage of Google's progressive web design, which allows much advanced caching. And so we're working on that. That'll be done by the end of the year, and that'll be even kind of the next step. But we have very purposely not tried to change how the browser works or how data is saved on a device in our architecture, staying clear to that. And now that Google's come out with these service workers, progressive web design, we're implementing that, and we're doing that with a large client that has a very diverse base. But also, I'd say, that's a great thing. Talk to our customers about that, about how that works. Call Somerville or Revere, or some of the other places, and they'll tell you how it works in the field.
Yeah, we've actually we talked to Ruben Cantor from Revere.
Oh, nice.
Big fan.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Like him a lot. All righty then. Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over to Misha. Here for questions on process and kind of help clarify things as we go. So take it away, Misha.
All right.
Let's talk about what your plans are to show today, too, just make sure we're all on the same page there.
Oh, that's a good idea. So what I have on my list is to go through contractor registration, and then we'll go through submitting a building permit, and we'll talk more about how that is the same process for planning and zoning. I'll show you some other features there. And then we're going to go into the health licensing process. Actually, I should say my plan is to go through the health inspection process, and we do that from a business license. So we'll get to talk about that as well. And then we'll move into code enforcement and request tracking. So we should be done in about 4 hours and 55 minutes. So put your seatbelts on. I'm just kidding. We're going to be less than 2 hours. But so that's my plan. Does that jive with everybody else?
Great. Thank you.
Great. And I do have some lame jokes to intersperse throughout this, so prepare to groan. Actually, there's like 2. But right now, we're looking at the Citizenserve website, and this is where we log in as staff. There's a login button here. But if you notice, as part of our services, we offer an online portal to your citizens. So we're going to start our demonstration there. So I'll just minimize this and show you the portal. Now, our portal is configurable, so you would, of course, get your town logo at the top. Or sorry, the city of Brockton would get their logo at the top. We offer all of our electronic services in this demo environment. But if you don't want to go live with something, we simply hide it on the portal. The goal of this portal is to present your constituents with the information that they need to get through the process on their own. we're hoping to minimize the contacts that, the emails and the phone calls and the counter visits that you get. So you can see in the center, we have licensing and then permitting options and development projects at the bottom. And over in the right-hand column, we offer the ability to submit a complaint and submit a request. And we're going to do a couple of these things today. Underlying this home page is also a bunch of content pages. So if we go over to services, you can see the drop down here. I can jump into the permit service pages, and this is going to present, again, additional information to your constituents about your specific permitting processes. So they can click on this link, do you need a permit? And they can read all about the type of Brockton projects that require a permit and those that don't. And if they need to progress to the next step, they can click on the submittal requirements page. And again, it's just another page that we can configure to present your actual submittal requirements to your constituents. So if I click this link for the building permit overview, let's see where it's going to open. It has opened up on my other monitor, so let me click and drag it over. This actually is opening up a document. Sorry, it was fighting me. It wasn't coming over. Here we go. So this link has opened up this PDF document, but it could easily point to another page on Brockton's site, or it could go to another page on the web if that's where your requirements are. So we'd want to configure this page for you. And then after this, the next step is to apply now, so your constituents are led through the process. Let's just talk briefly about the search feature. This is a way for your constituents to search for files that are already in the system. So I'm just going to run a quick search and show you that listing. We also offer reports. So on the reports tab, you can see this listing of report types. We've got a map pin for code complaints. We have a pie chart for these restaurant complaints. We have this sort of Excel looking icon. So that means we can do map or pie chart or list reports. We can also do mail merges for you. So we're just going to run through this code complaint report. This is going to pull up on a map, so it's kind of fun to see this type of data. So we'll do it from the beginning of last year, and we'll go till today. This is going to pull in. I'm
sorry, at some point too, can you just kind of show how the HTML5 responsive design works?
Absolutely. So you can see we have clusters of pins in the Spindrift neighborhood. We have some over in this neighborhood, and then there's some downtown. And hopefully this map looks familiar. We're using Google Maps on the back end. And because we're browser-based, we want to take in all of the features that are available with that service or with the services available on the browser itself. So from Google, we can go to the satellite view, we can zoom in, and then we can even drag the street view guy over to the street, and we can take a look around the neighborhood. Some trees and houses, and take a look around. The ocean's out there somewhere. But so this is just an example of one report that's available on the portal. We write your reports on the staff side, and report writing is included in your subscription. So there's an example of a report. Now, we're going to get to contractor registration in just a second, and that's going to be through this little link. As you can see, I have a drop down of credentials that I use in the system. This is where you'd log in if you already had an account, and this is where we'll register in just a minute. So we're going to come back to this. Our last stop in this little navigation tab is the contacts tab. And again, this is a place where we want to deliver as much information to your constituents as possible. I'm seeing a question from Joseph. It says, does Google Maps have parcel data? And no, it doesn't. Ray, do you want to talk about integration with parcel data and GIS info?
Yeah, so Google Maps is just are the map layer that we use, but we get all of your information from your GIS. So we're going to pull your parcel information in. We're going to pull in any attributes that you have associated with a parcel. Maybe it's a zone or a district, a year built, number of stories. We'll create custom fields to pull all that information into Citizenserve. And then we'll also pull any of the map layers that you want to be able to show on a map, bring those in from the GIS too. And so those are just done through REST web services. They can go from being, real time to nightly to weekly, kind of depending on what your update cycle is and what makes best sense for you. But when you use your geocoding, so it's not, Google's geocoding, we use your stuff from your GIS. So it's really, it's just, Google is just the map layer for us. that make
All
sense?
right. And Joseph says thank you. So that's great. We're totally fine if you ask questions on chat. You can also just interrupt and ask questions. That's fine. I promise I didn't get bored while Ray was talking and open up a chat session. I wanted to point out that we have chat available on the portal. So if you're contractors and
And I was
business
just,
owners, go ahead.
I was just going to tell, if you do put a question in chat, put it to everyone so I can see it, and then I can help answer that too.
Oh yeah, that does help. Because I'm not always looking at that GoToMeeting window. But so I've just put in a support request in chat. Or I've just put in a message to say hello to support. Their hours are 6 a.m. Pacific to, is it 7 a.m.? Sorry, 7 p.m. So we give you an hour. Sorry. But they've also been told to ignore me because I'm in the demo environment. But I was hoping that I would get a little ping from them. We have enabled this feature in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic because our customers have been asking for additional support because so many of their constituents are using the portal now. So your contractors and business owners can open up a chat session with our support desk and ask questions about where do I find this permit to apply for, or how do I find my user ID, or I don't remember my password. Can you help me? They can get this sort of support through our support chat center.
And that's just that's a great idea how we just try to do things in our customers' best interest. When we came out with the chat feature and we offer the support now for your constituents in the portal, we don't charge additional for that. And those are the kind of things that we just kind of do. Like I said, we got a different relationship with our customers, and we're looking for those things and how we can be a better partner for you all the time. Man, I sound like a sales guy.
Sorry, that's your job. You've got to give them all the good stuff. So the last thing that we're going to talk about on the portal is that we're built with HTML5 responsive design, right? That's the fancy phrase that says if you open a site on your iPhone, you're going to get a finger clickable menu that will let you say go to the permitting page, and you can start applying for your permit online. I want to just show you that you get all of the links here. They're just reconfigured to display in a reasonable way on your iPhone. And again, if you come on a tablet, you can see that the screen stretches, and now it's big enough to have the menu up at the top. But we can go ahead and we're going to do contractor registration. So instead of applying, let's go look at the registration pages. I'm going to make the screen bigger now. I'm going to click this register now button and show you how a contractor can register for the site and how you can track that information. So as Ray said before, we use about 24 different types of custom fields to create your applications, and we consider this an application as well. We have 4 different registration types defined here, but you get to configure that during your implementation. And I'm using the collective view when I say that. We would configure this with you and for you during your implementation process, but we also allow you to make configuration changes if that's what you want to do. We don't lock you out of anything. So there are 4 types defined in this environment. So if I choose something like anonymous, you're going to see just a very minimal set of data entry. This is for a constituent who wants to submit a code complaint but doesn't want to supply you with any of their personal information. Anything with a red hash in front of it is required, so we're only requiring a username and a password for the portal. And then that creates an account for them. They can submit their complaint and they can track that complaint online, and they don't have to share any information. This is an optional registration type. If you don't want to allow this, we just don't enable it. I'm going to switch over to the contractor registration type, and we'll start entering this information in. So I already have a couple of different accounts. So I'm going to use an alias. Let's see if this one's in the system, and I'm just going to copy paste. So it's doing some validation. It's checking to make sure all the pieces of my email address are correct. And I'm going to put in some additional information here too, even though it's not required. So my business name is going to be something like so on this screen, our type is contractor, but if you need to track trades, we could add in a drop down, or we could make specific registration types for electrical contractor, plumbing contractor, mechanical, whatever types of contractors you need, we could define those registration types. And then we'll put in a mailing address. Now, if you know this line says at least one phone number is required, so I'll go ahead and enter my phone number. And now it's defaulting my username to my email address. So now all I have to do is enter a password.
For contractors, do you have a link? Are you developing a link to state database registered contractors?
Yeah, we've we're kind of working with those guys with the Mass IT from the very beginning about that. We haven't really heard much back from them. I'm going to check into if that's possible. We could absolutely do that integration if Mass IT has everything set and ready to go now for you.
Another method would be if you have various cities and towns in Massachusetts that have registered contractors. You could build a separate link that shares between all Citizenserve clients for Massachusetts.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we could definitely do that integration if everything is ready there. But I haven't talked to those folks for a while or heard back from them. We were kind of helped them through the initial requirements piece probably 2 years ago. But kind of just fell off I don't know how they have continued with that. Do you know, is that everything on that ready and go with them right now?
I'm sorry, I'm unaware of any state licensing portal at this point.
Yeah, so they were working on a set of web services. I'll follow up with that to see where the state of that is. But if it's available, then we could definitely do that. And if we did it, it would really work the same for all of our customers.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, just taking a couple notes. So at the bottom of our form, you can see we've got additional fields where we can collect workers' compensation information. So I'm gonna put in a policy number and an expiration date. We'll just push it out a couple of months. And then I can attach documentation. So let's go get proof of insurance. And we'll see what I've got. There's some proof of insurance. And then we can also upload photographs so you have copies of that. So I wonder if I don't think I really have a great picture in here. I do have one of a stuffed dog though, so I'll show you that in the system. So you can upload a photograph. And then we're also able to collect information about liability insurance. None of these fields are marked as required, but that's also configurable. So in a contractor registration, if you are requiring them to attach proof of insurance, we simply mark that on that field type, and then that field becomes required. So we'll go ahead and submit this document. I should note though, I've said it a couple times, we're configurable. So if you have additional data fields that you want to collect, we'll just add them to this form and you'll be able to collect this information. Now, when I submit, it's going to do some checking and I'm hoping that, perfect, my email address went through. So now I'm logged into the system. So we have just completed our contractor registration and a contact card for me and my contractor status exists on the staff side of Citizenserve. And now when I apply for a permit, which we're going to do right now by clicking on this link, my contact information is associated with this application as well. So I'm going to remind you, when you see a drop-down menu here in the system, these are all options that were defined for this environment, but these are configurable options. So when I choose an application type, I get 7 different permit types here. We would define for you your permit types and you'd get to select from that list. And the same with the subtypes. I'll call this a new single-family home, Brockton. And then this question allows us to link this application with an existing project. So if you were working on a subdivision and a contractor was coming in with a building permit for a house on that subdivision, they could put in the file number or the permit number for that initial subdivision project, and it would link this house to that. I'm just going to say this is for a new project. We also want to join to your best source of parcel data so that when your contractors enter an address here or a partial address like I'm listing now, when they click find address, it would list Brockton addresses here. So I'm going to choose the address that I want. You can see that it pulls in parcel and ownership data. And now I'm ready to fill out this form. So for number of structures to be built, I'm going to select 1, but if we had 4, it would give us display data for all 4, and input fields for all 4 of those structures. So we'll pick residential, and VB. And then we have some display only fields. If I tab out of the number field, you can see that it updates there. That data is used in calculations on the back end. Now we're integrated with contractor licensing as well. So if I wanted to add an additional contractor, I could type in their name and it's going to search through all of the active licenses in the system. So we can see that there are 2, and I'll pick Smithsonian Construction. We also have the ability to search through the contractor registration, the contact cards that we just created. So if I type Smith in again, it comes up with Sam Smith, who's a registration. So we have a bunch of different ways to find people in the system. And we can do this for all the trades. So now we'll go ahead and upload a site plan document for a single family home. We'll go into my permitting file. And please do ask if you have questions about what you're seeing. We'll pull open a site plan, and I'll also do a landscape plan. And now we're at the bottom of the file. So we have terms and conditions listed here. I'm going to check this box to say that I agree. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw a signature with my mouse. So here I am. There we go. And we'll save. Now we have some other fields displayed here to show some of those other custom fields. So this Dropbox link is a very long text field. If you had giant files that were too cumbersome to upload to the system just because of internet speeds, you could have your contractors put them in Dropbox and you could go visit them there. And this last field is a draw field. A customer requested that they just want their contractors to be able to draw where the shed is, or in our case, a single family residence, and draw where the property line is. Oops, can't draw a straight line to save my life. There we go. So there's a line. So I'll go ahead and save this drawing, and you can see now it's created a file. Now, if I got called away and I wasn't quite ready to send this in, I could save for later, and it would get saved in my profile in a shopping cart. But instead, I'm going to submit. So this is going through all of the required fields, and then it's going to send me to the payment processor. So it tells me my application has been received. So now it's driven me to the payment processor, and here we would have your fee structure loaded. So whatever custom fields the customer checked off that drive fees would be reflected here. So I'm going to put in some credit card data. And now we'll submit. Now, also in the background, the system has sent me a notification that my online application was received. And it's so interesting. It hasn't hit my inbox yet. I'm going to show you an email that was sent to a staff member at the same time. So here is an email that says Citizenserve online application received. Oh, I think that must mean that my the alias that I set up isn't pointing to my inbox. That might be a problem. I'm probably going to need to go and update my email address so that I can start receiving these email addresses. Or maybe let me just send an email and no, it's too early for Roby to be up. So that Misha04 that I put in is an alias, but apparently it's not actually sending the email. This is an example of a system-generated email that goes to a staff member when a permit project is created. This is something that you can set up in the system if you want to receive these notifications. This just says a new construction application has been received from your online portal. The customer-facing email says your Citizenserve application received. And there's instructions here. So these are configurable templates. We will work with you during your implementation to decide what information you want your constituents to have. I've seen some really great instructions sent out saying, our process takes about 2 weeks. If you don't hear anything in that time frame, call the building department. or you'll receive X document in such, such and such a time frame. So it really helps the constituents know what is next in the process. So we'll close that down. And then really quickly, let's go take a look at what this permit looks like. In fact, let me see if I can update my information. I just used the update information button, and I'm going to see if I can actually get a profile. I can still keep that same. It would just be really helpful to be able to show you these email addresses or emails that come in. I can also show you in the system.
I'm checking on it, Misha.
Okay, thanks. All right, so let's go view our requests. And now we can see we have this single permit in the system. And when I click on it, it's going to open the file. So this is what your contractors get to view from the portal. You can see we've got tools on the left, so we can edit the permit because it's in this online application receive state. But this is configurable too. If you want to disable this after they submit, we can hide that option. We can make a payment. You can see that we're going to collect some other permit fees later in the process. We can request an inspection, although it's too early in the process for this. We can upload documents and leave messages. Now, when these things happen on the portal, it can send a message or an activity to staff on the staff side so that they're aware that this transaction has occurred on the permit or the portal side. In the center of the screen, you have header information about the file, and then over to the right, there's an image that we get from Google. Now, down below, we have these different tabs that show information about the project. So the permit tab shows what was asked on the permit, and then our answers are in the column to the right. And this, it just displays our whole permit in view only. Now, if I click over to the reviews tab, this is going to show the review route that's been assigned to this project. We do both concurrent and consecutive reviews. In this instance, because there's only a start date in the first task, this is the only task that exists in the system. And we're going to go through this review process in a minute. When we complete this first task, it's going to trigger 5 additional tasks that can happen at the same time. This is an example workflow. We'll configure your workflows according to your process. So just know this is just for demonstration purposes. Now, in the Documents tab, you can see the documents that we've uploaded and then the documents that we created. There's that signature file and that drawing file as well. And then the Inspections tab is here to show your history of inspection activity. And again, it's too early in the process. We are going to jump out of the portal and jump into the staff side. So let's imagine that you're taking off a hard hat, right? Because we're no longer going to act as a contractor. Let's put on an imaginary name badge and we're going to log in as Morgan Katz. She's in the building department and we're just refreshing her task list. Now, every user in Citizenserve will get their own home page. We'll configure it during your implementation, but each user can choose which widgets they want to display to help them get their job done. So at the very top of her list is her task list. You can see that she has 12 tasks due. We've got a lot of red items here. These are alerts with the exclamation point. And when I click on one, it opens the alert so I can see it. And this one is a very generic. This is an alert on a parcel. We can see that it was added to a property. It was added to this address. Here's the parcel. And then it shows what the alert is, the date added, and who it was added by. This alert is going to sit on this property until it gets cleared on the project. So we could go in and we could clear that by accessing it and disabling that alert. Let's see if I've got a different one here. Oh, here's one on 970 Visalia. So here's another example of alert. It's added to a contact. It says verify funds. This contractor has bounced 2 checks in the past. So these alerts sit in this system and they can be associated with contacts or properties or files. And it's a way to get information out to all of your staff across all of the different departments. Now the red hand over here is an example of a standing condition. So here you can see the different conditions. These conditions are added in the review process. So you can say, we need this condition to be met before a certificate of occupancy is generated, or this condition needs to be met before a permit is issued, and it displays that condition here. And again, those can be corrected in the application itself or on the permit file. So this is the first step in her on her homepage. We also have other tools. This next section is metrics. These are configurable. We consider this a report, but it's very graphical. So this first one shows overdue permit reviews, and there are 57. I can click on this hyperlink and get a listing of all 57 files, but it's more beneficial to look at the different categories and see how they're broken down. So when I click on the 10 in the building department, I get to see this listing, and I can start clicking on these files and they'll open in a new tab, especially if I click the link. So you can see this permit is opening in the new tab, and then we can do our work in here. When we're done, we can close that tab and it'll take us back to that initial metric tab. So metrics, I said they were configurable. You can do that by going into the gearbox. These are the out-of-the-box metrics right here. So you can pick the one you want. Let's look at, say, we'll do pending permit reviews. When you add a metric, you just define a time period. So we'll say, look at everything for this month. And the scope would be whose work is it? So I'm going to select everybody's. And when I add, you can see it adds a third metric there. And I save it. It's going to refresh and it'll display that third metric. Here we see our pending permit reviews. So I just showed you a listing of the out-of-the-box stuff, but if you have an idea for a metric that will really help you to manage your work or manage your department's work, all you need to do is go up to the Support Center link and click Submit a New Request. This is going to open up an input screen. You can detail your request, and it has all of your contact information below. If you want to add an attachment, you can do that as well, and then you submit it. They've got about an 85% same-day turnaround. So metrics and reports can get done the very same day. Now, the next widget that she could use is My Notes. It's just a note to self. You just add it, type your note in here. It'll sit around until you're done with it, and then you can just exit off. We also have a section for links, so you can go to open files or activities. You can change your settings. And in the center, you can link to reports that you run frequently. And then at the very bottom on her screen is My Recent Files. So these are like the last 10 or so files that you've accessed. So you can get to stuff that you did last week. All right, that's enough navigation. Let's get in and we'll do some work. I want to point out that our application is sitting here at the bottom of the screen. In this task list, this first link is to the task itself. So this will take us into the file. If we wanted to look at the file as a whole, we could click this link. And then the information that also displays is the address of the project and our description, the status, and then the due date. So we're going to click on this task link and it will open up our permit project. So now we've opened the permit project. It says permit project at the top. Here's that same image from Google. We've got a file number, our address, and our description up at the top of the screen. Plus, we can see the conditions that are applied to this particular case. These are all different permits at this same address. So they're displayed here. And then here are the alerts that are on this file. And as you can see, we're in the file now, so we can delete this. And since this is not a very helpful alert, I'm just going to delete this. And it prompts me, it asks me to verify that I really want to do this. So that's a nice safety feature. And now that alert has been cleared. So let's go about this renewal or this review process. She is going to click on, if she wants to see her permit, right? We could click on the tab, but the benefit of working in a browser is that I can click this more information button and it's going to pull open my permit in a new window. So I could pull this off and compare it side by side in two monitors. But in this case, because we're in GoToMeeting, I'm just going to leave it attached here. So here's what the permit looks like on the staff side. Now, the status is online application received. That tells us that this was a permit that was submitted through the portal. I'm going to change the status to under review. That's going to lock it down for editing on the portal side. We can see these staff only fields, the dollar amounts, the total amount due, the balance, the amount paid, and the balance due. Plus, there's a valuation calculation. So I'll show you what this more information does. This button pulls up the calculation for the valuation field. That's all stuff that gets calculated for you and set for you during your implementation. So then as I scroll down, you can see that this application is now displaying on the staff side. So we get the same questions, but it's displayed a little bit differently. So she's going to take note that this is a 1-bedroom, it's residential, 2,000 square feet. And as we scroll down, she can take note of the contractors that are here. If she needed to look at their licensing information, all right, she's a building department user, so she can't see that. We can update that in her roles so that she'd be able to view that licensing information. But she can also pull up the contact card on this guy by clicking on this more information button. And this pulls up that contractor registration information. Does anything look familiar? Yes, that's actually me in there. All right, so at the document submittal portion, we can see that a site plan was uploaded. I could go into the markup tool here if I wanted to, but we're going to do that through the review tab so that we can capture all of the comments that are created. But she'll take note that we don't have a plot plan and we don't have a cost affidavit uploaded. And then down at the bottom, we get, again, more staff-only fields. So this field dictates how the costs or the fees are calculated. If I switch to estimated construction cost, just take note that originally our total fees due were $13,375. But if I recalculate based on this new option here, it's going to recalculate my fees, and it's lowered them by about $300. So we'll go back to valuation here, and I'll save it in a minute. If you wanted to add manual fees, you could click this barcode, and this is going to open up our fee tracker. So we'll define any number of manual fees for you. In this case, I'm going to add a $25 miscellaneous fee, and we'll save. And now we can see that fee at the bottom right here. So I'm going to hit the recalculate button just to make sure that that valuation change gets updated, and we'll take a payment a little later in the process. So that did get calculated when we updated that fee. So I'm going to save this change. Now, when we do a status change, that is an opportunity for the system to trigger a notification to the applicant. So let's see if I get that, that update in my email. Keep your fingers crossed. Otherwise, do you know what we can do? We can just go to the Documents tab. I'm going to scroll out just a little bit. So let's look at the system-generated emails. Right now, you can see that an online application received, email was sent out. That's the one that I showed you. This permit application has been received was the email that I was hoping to show you, but it never hit my inbox. So when we look, maybe I can scroll in. This is what that system-generated email would have looked like. It says your permit application. Oh, we have a duplication here, has been received and is currently under review. It lists file information in this email, and we can select any data out of the database to show this. And then there's this link that'll get us back to the portal. And it looks like this is not sending out status updates when it's under review, but we'll take a look back and we'll see if we get them in other status changes. So back at our review tab, I just switched tabs, right? We've looked at the permit, we've changed it to under review, and now we want to make some notes. So I'm going to go to the Common Comments book, and you can see that it's defaulted to this comment group for application intake. So I'm going to check off this comment that I know is already here about the documents that have been uploaded. And I'm going to delete out the documents that I have. And now this note is ready to be saved to this file. And I can see those review comments. Now, we're also going to go into the markup tool. So I just accessed the tool right here from the review, and I'm going to click on the site plan document. So when we open up the markup tool the first time for a project, it has to load this document on the server and change it into a format that will allow us to apply some layers. So it's going to take 30 to 45 seconds for this to happen. But this only happens the first time. And then as we log in as additional reviewers, they'll get it from the server in rapid time. So let's talk about what you can do with the markup tool. We can apply shapes like squares or circles. We can draw arrows or lines or even a free draw tool. On every shape that gets added to the file, you can add comments from the comment book. And here we see our document has loaded. So I'll scroll down just so you can see this is our site plan. Now, we also have stamps that can be added. So there are some predefined stamps: approved, received, rejected. These are created in the system. If I wanted to edit stamps, I could click edit, And I'm just going to delete out the stamp that I had yesterday, which I created Remy's stamp, and we'll just delete it. And you can see how you have control over this. We're going to pull on a received stamp, and we're going to plop it right here on this document. We'll scroll up a little bit. Now, every user gets their own, layer of comments. So if I scroll up here, sorry, I want to put this up at the top of the field. Morgan's comments aren't going to clobber any other reviewers because she gets her own layer to do her comments in. So if you notice, here's the common comments book, and here's a manual comments. So I'm just going to add a quick comment that says Morgan reviewed on, what's today, Friday a.m. And we'll save this. So now we have a comment associated with this stamp. And if I move it up here, then it's really on a white background, and that's nice. So we can do some other tools here. So let's grab a circle tool, and we're going to draw it around this reserved drain field area. And then I'm going to access the common comments book, and we can apply some comments. But I'm going to ask you to use your imagination, right? This is a drain field, but I don't have any drain field specific comments. So I'm going to pick irrigation system. And I'm just going to pick off some of these comments that apply. I can modify these comments if I want to. I can add more text, or I can delete text. And if I want to add a manual comment, I can do that too. Oh, and I'm not making any grammatical sense, but we're going to save that because sometimes that happens, right? You can move these items around after you place them, and you can also configure them. So it's named circle because that's the name of the tool, but I could also call this drain field, and that would give the contractor, unless, if there was any doubt, it would let them know what we were talking about. You can also change the outline color and the outline style and the outline thickness. So you have lots of configuration options. So we're going to pause here. We're going to pretend that our review is done. I'm going to save these changes. Now, I've said that this tool is fully integrated. Did I not click the button? Let's try this again. So now I am saving this tool. She would go through the rest of these documents, and she would complete her review in the markup tool. She would validate that all of those documents were good, and then she'd close. Now, I just brought up integration. This tool is fully integrated in that now all of those comments that we added to that file have been brought down to our review comment sheet. We can email these out. We can include them in documents. It's very visible and transparent. So let's notify our users that they're missing these documents. We'll go ahead and access the email template. I'll go ahead and select my incomplete application template. Now, these are all defined in the system. We would define your own set. I can address this email by clicking the ... I'm going to select the applicant here. If I wanted to add attachments, I could just send it, but I'm going to show you the preview just in case this alias isn't set up as well. This is what the applicant will receive. It has, again, that same header information, which we can configure for you. It has the notes that she added. The following submittal documents were not provided. And then it also includes the documents markup comments that we made, and those are listed here. So remember that this is a configurable template. We can set yours up to include what you want. This was me just emailing the applicant to let them know we're missing documents. You wouldn't really want to approve this at this point, but let's imagine that those updated documents were included. So we're going to go ahead and complete this activity so we can move on in the review process. And we have a couple status options here. These are, again, configurable. I'm going to select approved with conditions. I've also seen approved with comments. And I'll go ahead and save this to close this activity. Boy, I am misclicking today. There we go. We're saving this. So this is now reused this review tab to show me my whole route name. This is that review route for the building permit that's been assigned to this activity. If I click one more time, it's going to give me a higher level view. And if I had multiple review routes, I'd see them all on this tab. Right now, we can see that this first task is completed, right? This was our application intake step. This was the only task that had a start date. But now, all of the next 5 tasks, this is 5, right? I can count. They've all been generated, and they're sitting in people's task lists ready to be worked on, and they can all start their work at the same time. We're going to switch gears. So let's update that imaginary name badge to say Liam. He is in the building department, and he's actually assigned 2 different tasks. Here we can see at the bottom of the form our permit, and he has 2 tasks listed. So let's jump in and we'll do application review. He is going to do the same thing. He could click on this ... and look at the permit, but we're just going to go straight into the markup tool so that I can show you what 2 reviewer comments look like on the same document. So we added Morgan stamps up here, but if you notice down at the bottom in the blue bar, we're only showing Liam's. So if he wants to show Morgan's, he can click and then he gets to see her comments. If you notice, her stamp is kind of grayed out and I can't move it around. That's because it's still in her layer and we can't make any modifications. The red indicates a comment, so I can click on it and I can read the comment, but I can't make any changes here. So that's nice security between users. So let's add a receive stamp for Liam. We can position it right next to Morgan's, and we can also add a comment here. If I could type or spell. And we'll just save this. Now let's go do some more fun stuff with this markup tool. There are lots of tools available. I'm going to create, I want to calculate the square footage of the proposed house. So the first thing I need to do to be able to do a measurement is to calibrate the document. So I'm going to click the little compass tool and I'm going to draw this stated line of 280 feet. Now, normally you'd want to do this from a scale diagram, but I don't have that on this document. So I'm going to draw this stated line and now I'm calibrated. So I can click the area tool and now I can click in the corner of this shape. You can see I'm a little sloppy. I've left out a little bit of square footage there, but you'll get the idea. So now, in case that's too tiny, let's change the outline thickness. This is now, it's 3923.62. So the applicant said that this was a 2,000 square foot home, and our valuation includes square footage to calculate fees. So I'm going to make a note that square footage is underreported. Should be 3924. And now the applicant is going to get this information. So again, we can change this outline color if we wanted to, and we can change this name to be square footage calculation. So let's do one more tool here. We'll just grab the area tool, or sorry, the arrow tool, and we're going to point to this line. We can make this shape bigger if we want, and let's go into that Common Comments book. Let's imagine that that line is really a fence. We'll go to our fences and pools comments, and we can make some comments about these plans. And we'll save. We'll go ahead and save this document. But note, these tools here will allow you to compress the document and include the different layers, which can then be saved to the file and emailed out. There's also that email button that would do the same thing in one step. So here are our site plan comments. For Liam, we're just going to complete this activity. We're not going to send any notification. He's going to say this is in resubmittal required, right? There are a lot of changes that need to happen to that plan set. So we'll go ahead and save this, and it's going to update our workflow route. Again, this is having us within the workflow route. You can see we have 2 completed activities. Now, Liam has one more task that he does, which is required inspections. And I just want to show you this activity, which I can get to right from this workflow, right? We're already on the project. This is also going to be in his task list. What we've seen so far are reviews that use the Common Comments book to have the reviewers make their comments. If you have a specific checklist of things you need them to complete, we can just build that checklist in custom fields. In this instance, whatever I check off on this form is going to print out on the permit card, but this is just to show you that we can set up your reviews in a couple different ways. So I'm going to add a completion date of today, and our status will be complete. And when I save this, it's going to update our screen. So what would normally happen? In fact, we're just going to click out so we can get that higher level view. You can see that we have these 3 completed activities. Now, Stacy, Rihanna, and Ryan all have their reviews to do, but just for time constraints, we're going to imagine that everybody's done and that these go back to Morgan for review complete. she would take a look at the workflow route and say, oh, there are a lot of comments that are needed. There's a lot of changes needed. So I am going to complete this activity. We're going to say sending permit back for changes. Good grief. And I'll go ahead and we'll put a completion date here, and we will say that this activity is complete. Now, we're doing this a little bit out of order. Normally, there'd be start and due dates, but I just want to demo this functionality to you. So before I close this down, I want to open up that permit activity because we're going to make some changes here too. I'm going to change this status to be resubmittal required, and that's going to trigger that edit permit activity to be available again. So I'll save that. And in this review activity, I'm going to click save. Now it's updated that review, but I actually want to close down this whole review route because we've sent that permit back. So I'm going to put it into resubmittal required, and I'll add a completion date. And when I save, I am just missing with my mouse today. Holy cow. So I clicked save and it popped up this message that says, hey, there are some uncompleted tasks out there. Do you want to complete them? If I say yes, it's going to do cleanup and pull those tasks off those other users. And then it puts the whole status into resubmittal required. Oh, and it's still thinking. So that's going to update in just a second. Here we go. So now we can see we've got a completion date. It'll track the duration for you. We've done this all in one day, so it didn't take any time. But now we can go back to the portal and take a look. Let's see if I can just edit my permit in this status. Actually, I want to go back and we'll do a refresh. I'm going to log out and log back in. I'm logged in as so many users. I want to just get the freshest copy of this as I can. So we will log in. And now we'll view our requests. I need to do a little check really quick. Apparently, I've logged in as the wrong user. This is logging me in as Mish's Indian Food Emporium. Let me go check my data in here really quick. So I can do that by going to the Contacts tab, and we can see I'm in here as the contact. So let's go look at my contact card, and we'll see what it says. Misha04@citizenserve.com. There we go. What did I type in before? Good grief. Okay, fingers crossed. This is going to show me. Ta-da. Here's our Brockton permit. This looks better. So here is our permit. It says that it's in resubmittal required. I'm able to edit it. I'm able to see all of these fields. Let's go check out the review tab. You can see the statuses of all of these activities. And if you notice, there's some hyperlinks here. So I can click view comments, and it'll show me the comments that have been added. Let's go ahead and jump back to the Documents tab. I want to show you that on that site plan, we're also able to view that markup tool. So here you can see the different shapes that were added, and the comments are on the left-hand side. So if I click a shape, it's just going to pull up the comments related to that. And if I look at this drop down, I can highlight a shape this way and view the comments on that, or I can look at the whole page. So this is just helpful information to your contractors. So what I'm going to show you is how to edit this permit. It pulls up our whole application here. Now we know that our square footage was underreported. Oh, but can I remember? Was it 362? We're just going to update it. We'll pretend that that's the right number. So I can make a change there, and I can upload a new plan set. Now, this is just one way to do it. I'm going to delete off this site plan document, and I'll upload another version. We also are able to do some versioning.
Misha?
Yeah.
Oh, good. My speaker was working. I just want to let you know too that I sent you. Looks like those emails were going to Julie that you sent out this morning. I forwarded one of
Oh,
those over.
that's fun.
Yeah, I think that user ID had her email updated on it.
Interesting. Was it even possible? Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know. I'm going to go ahead and we've uploaded.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
never mind. So did you guys
Okay.
see the signature? You saw the signature part. Obviously, I just jumped back on. I know that was something that we discussed earlier. So this is on an application, but it can work the exact same way on an inspection, and we'll show that how that can work like on a health inspection too a little later.
Oh, if you notice, I just tried to delete this out and they won't actually allow me to do it. So when I hit trash, it says, "Are you sure you want to delete?" And I say yes. And they've got some validation in here that says you can't delete this custom signature. So we can lock these fields down as well and not allow your applicant to make changes if you want, if you don't want them to. And I think we're going to see a signature field on an inspection form as well. So we're resubmitting our changes, and I'm going to click OK. It's going to take us back to our permit. It shows us the updated document, and it also sends an activity into the staff side. So let's jump in as Morgan and let's take a look at her homepage. And you can see that in her task list, she's got this new online modification activity. So it alerts her that a change was made. And when we look at this change, you get to see that it lists out every change that was made. So it says who logged in, what the application was, the change that was made to the square foot field. This is a display only field that also changed, so it's telling us about it. And then we've uploaded this site plan document, and we've deleted it, and then we've attached it. So we can say, okay, we've got it. This change is good. We're going to mark this as complete. I'm going to go back into that permit activity or that permit application, and I'm going to change it into under review again. And then let's add a route to this. So this second plan set can get its own review route. We'll just add a new building permit construction review activity, a review route. This is going to pull up the whole review route, and you can see that she's able to say, nope, I've already checked this. I'm not going to do this application activity. We are going to skip engineering and conservation, and we'll say planning, and we'll just assign it to Liam and Morgan again. So when we save that, I'm going to go ahead and save the changes here as well. And let's just take a look at the review tab and we'll see if my review route generated. And here you can see we've got these 3 activities now that are going to go under review. And these users will be able to track the status of these different review routes. So I have gone way down in the weeds on this building permit. I realize that we have 45 minutes left for the rest of the demonstration. So let's go issue this permit, and then we will go ahead and do an inspection on it. So I'm going to go into the permit itself. You can see that there's a balance due. Normally what happens is when you put the approved status on the permit, it's going to generate an email out to the applicant that says, your permit's been approved, there's a balance due, go to the portal and pay $12,574. And if you notice, that's using that new square footage calculation, so it's recalculated our fees. So when I save this, it's going to trigger an email. That email may go to Julie. But I'm suspicious that we've disabled that feature on this, probably because it was generating. Oh, nope, here we go. Your Citizenserve application status has changed. So this was sent out. Let me pull it up here at the bottom. Oh, goodness, that's small. So it says your permit has been approved and can be issued after final fees are paid. You owe this amount. Go here and pay. So we can totally customize this with information for your constituents. Let's go take a payment. So we'll go back to that permit and we'll open it up. And I'm going to use the credit card icon. I could also use the payment tracker here as well. This allows you to track a payment that comes in if you receive a check or if you take a credit card over the counter. We can say credit card. We'll say that it's an American Express. We can say who it was received from, the applicant. That looks good. So we'll save this payment, and it's going to zero out our balance. Now it's brought me all the way to the bottom, so you can see there's a zero balance due. And now we're going to go ahead and generate this permit. Now, what I'm not showing you is if I had tried to generate this permit while there was a payment due, it would have given a warning message that said, hey, there's a payment due. Do you want to continue? That's an example of a system condition, but just for time constraints, I'm skipping over it. But just know that we have about 20 different places in the workflow where we can throw in those conditions. In this case, this has generated our permit. We can see all of those required inspections that we checked off on that activity. I'm going to go ahead and save this, but know that this is a configurable form. It's just done in HTML. So we're going to go request an inspection. On the portal side, it's a request. We're not scheduling it. These are going to get routed to staff, and staff members can assign it to the appropriate person and can give it an actual time. So I'm going to select my inspection type. And remember, I'm acting as a contractor here. Now, if you notice, today's the 25th, but Fridays are blocked out. So I'm going to have to select Monday because we've locked that down on the calendar. And we'll say for Monday AM, but this is configurable. If you want to give a range of hours or if you want to leave it off completely, each of these forms can be configured. And then here's an example of a signature. So this is what the requester is signing. So I'm going to do just an M, a fancy M, to differentiate it from the signature that I added to the application. And then I'll submit. So this is going to put in the request to the staff side, and it's also going to place this entry on our inspections tab so I can reschedule or cancel here. So we're going to jump into the staff side as Liam, who is their building inspector. And when we go to his home page, I'm going to show you the unassigned activity queue. In fact, I'm going to show you the one that's due to make it easier to see, but this will list everything in the queue that's unassigned. So we can see by the map pin where it is in the parcel data. I'll go ahead and scroll out. This is also a good time to talk about how we can bring in your GIS layers. And if I overlay parcel information, then we can see that it's been laid down and I can click on it. I get additional details, not a ton, but they're available in the system. So we can also see that I am, oh, here we go. My pin's over here now. This information about this pin has appeared at the bottom. And from here, I can assign it to myself, or I can click this drop down to assign it to other users. And for this, this is also on the 29th. So let's save here and we'll go into the calendar and I'll show you how we can find this. So Liam has a calendar option on his home page. Down here at the in the middle of his page. Now we just added this to the 28th, so it's not showing on today's calendar, but we can access his calendar and we can click on the 28th and we can get to his footing inspection, which is it's got to be this one because this is our later one. So we could go to the permit by clicking on this link, but I want to go directly into the footing inspection. So from here, I can see we're on the right file. I can change the date to today. We'll just override that. And here I can set the time. And instead of saying online schedule requested, I could say that it's scheduled. So the next thing for us to do is to hop in the truck. And we will go out and do this inspection. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my iPad emulator. And we are going to do a refresh in here really quick. So this is an iPad Pro. Oh, his calendar is at the bottom. Let's fix that. We're going to access this footing inspection right from our iPad. Now, this inspector is going to walk the site, maybe take some photos with his device, and he's going to add some comments. So I'm going to go to that comment book, and you can see that it's accessing a footing grouping of comments in this dropdown at the top. So I'm going to select the comments that apply to this particular inspection. And if I wanted to add a comment of my own, instead of using the screen keyboard that pops up when I go into this text field, I'm going to use voice to text. This is a voice to text comment from Liam's iPad. And we'll save that. So now my comments have been saved. And let's add some photographs. So I'm going to use the paperclip icon, and I'm going to select files from my device. So we'll scroll down and we'll find my footing photo, and we'll include that in this inspection. Now, let's say that this inspection is not ready to pass. We'll wait for this to load. I'll go ahead and save this. Let's give this a status of not ready, and we'll give it a completion date, right? Because we did finish it. Now, from here, if I want to do a follow-up inspection, all I have to do is click the calendar icon, and it's going to add an additional follow-up inspection or a footing inspection. So I just add a date. We can say we're going to give them a week, and then we'll make the status scheduled, and we can save it. Now, here we are on the inspections tab. You can see the history. That the first one that happened is not ready. It's at the bottom, and then the scheduled activity is at the top. But let's go generate an inspection report. So in this activity, I could choose, this could be set up as a letter, and we'd use that, that page icon, but this has been set up as an email. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the report template from my dropdown, and we'll address it to the applicant. If I had attachments, oh, I do have an attachment. Let's include that photo. We'll click Add Attachments, and I can use tools like the Show Thumbnails button to find that photo really easily. And we'll attach that. And then I'm just going to give you a preview of this email. Here it shows the attachment is listed up at the top, and then we have our inspection comments here. So I'll go ahead and send that off. So imagine then that all of your inspections have come through. Right, we'll just save this. All of your inspections would be completed, and then you would be ready to issue the certificate of occupancy. So let's just drive back to the office, right? I'm going to put this iPad away, and I want to switch gears a little bit because I know I've spent so much time talking about permitting. If we were going to issue a certificate of occupancy, we would do it just like we did the permit card, where we go to that document generator and we select that certificate of occupancy. That's a time where we can do SQL conditions. So if it were too early in the process, we could input a catch there to prevent your staff from doing things out of order. We offer a planning and zoning module that is based on the permit project.
Nisha,
Yes.
we got a half hour. I just want to kind of check with everybody on the demo here. How would you like us to prioritize things? And, do you want us to go into depth into planning and zoning? It's really very much the similar process as building permits, or do you want us to get into health inspections? How would you guys like to prioritize the time we have left?
And if you're talking, you're on mute right now.
I can't speak for everybody, but code enforcement health inspection is pretty important.
Absolutely. So we'll switch gears. And I think, Ray, I think that if I really focus and hustle, I can get through both. So I do just want to point out in planning and zoning that we offer the ability to support your large projects. So this is a real life example in Spanish Fork of a 9-phase project that they're doing. I am in our test environment, which is slow, so I've preloaded the tabs here. So I'm switched over to the review tab to show you all of the different routes that have been applied to these projects. There are 2 different permits. There's a final plat and there's a site plan review. So these are all of the different reviews. And with planning and zoning, we know you have meetings that you need to track. So I'm expanding this review route to show you that they do this development review committee and they track the outcome of that meeting right in the comments here. Then these comments can be pulled into meeting minutes, or these activities can be pulled into agendas. So we're going to jump out to a different environment that does generate their agendas through Citizenserve. This is Barefoot Bay, Florida. They're a deed restricted community, and their Architectural Review Control Committee posts their agendas online. So when we click on this ARC C packet, it's going to open up a report that was generated in Citizenserve. So these are the Citizenserve file names. the addresses of the projects and the descriptions here. So it's the same project type that we just went through in building permits. You still get the review routing assigned, but we can also support these other details that are more planning specific. So that was my 3-minute overview of planning. And now let's jump into code enforcement so that you can see how we can log complaints and requests in the system.
Can I ask
So
just a quick question?
Yeah.
Okay, to finish off the building permits, does the contractor, when they're logging in, creating a new permit for plumbing or electrical, do they have the option to select the number of items and types of items? Because based on the type and number of items, they'll be charged a different amount.
Yes, absolutely. Those would be custom fields that would be defined on your application.
And
Okay.
I don't know if we showed some example earlier of the dynamic fields with like on the original building permit, like with number of structures, where she put in 2, then it gave them a place to fill in the 2 structures. If they said 3, it gave them 3, and we can do that same thing using those dynamic questions, which is it's really kind of I think a great advantage of doing the applications online, where you can ask a question. If they answer it one way, you don't ask them more. If they answer it another way, you can ask them more specific questions about that. And you can even use it for, like, if they say 3 components, then we can give them the spot to put in the details on those 3 components in the application.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we are over at the portal, and we, again, are on our homepage. We have all of these services available. We're going to submit a complaint. I'm going to show you both the complaint and the request because the forms are different. The complaint is a very simple complaint form, but these are configurable. So I'm going to say trash left in neighbor's yard. Good grief. And then the type is going to be whatever complaint type you want to have listed here. And then I can enter an address. So we'll say this is at 860 Taft. And when I click find address, it's going to pull in ownership data. Now, this is the end of the form. So all I've done is a 1-line description. I've defined the type or selected the type, and then I've entered an address. And then I submit, and this gets sent off to the town. Now, I also want to show you a more involved form. So we're going to submit a request. And from here, I can say, enter the general topic. We'll say a street light is out at 4th and Main. And then the type is going to be a public or request related to a specific address or location. Now, we're parcel based, so I don't have intersections in the system, but we can configure your address to accept a non-defined address. So we'll say use this address. And now it's asking me to enter a general type. This is configured so we can set up your forms to gather whatever data you need. In this case, I'll select street, sidewalks, and traffic signals. And then it again asks me to further define a category. So I'll say this is street lights. Now it says describe your request in detail. It's very dark at night. Please, good grief. These replace light. And then we can attach a photo if we want. So I'll go ahead and show you my second joke for code enforcement. I have a picture of a burned out light bulb. I go into code. Ta-da. There it is. So if you were taking a photo at the moment, you could upload it that way. We're just going to submit this complaint. And then we'll go in and we'll take a look on the staff side. These are also visible on our requests, right? Because we track everything in the system. So now I can choose to look at my code complaint, or I can look at my request. And we can route these to different people. For this demo, these are all getting routed to our code enforcement guy, Lucas. So when I refresh this, his home page is going to update, and we can see there's our complaint that trash was left in a neighbor's yard, and here's our request that the street light is out at 4th and Main. Let's go ahead, and I want to show you how we can create this code case over the phone. So if we get a call from a complainant, she'll say, a neighbor has parked a junk vehicle and her grass is overgrown and a fire hazard. So you can take down what she says, and then you have to ask her if she wants to be associated, and she says yes. She says her name is Ginny. So we're going to add her as a contact, but instead of just adding contacts every call, the system asks you to search first. So we put in her name, and she says, I'm Ginny Smith. I live at 141. So we know this is her. It's going to pull her contact data into this file, which we can define as code enforcement. Now, she says she doesn't know the address of the complainant, but she just lives 3 doors down in the blue house on the corner. So we're going to put in Ginny's address information. And we can see the ownership information here. And when we go to the map, it's again going to pull us into the map at this address. And we're going to zoom in and go to Google View or the satellite view. So we can see the blue house on the corner. We say, is it on the corner of what? Naomi and Baker. There's Naomi. She says yes, the blue house on the corner. So we're going to drop our pin there, and that's going to update our parcel data. Now we've got new data. So we can also track the area. If you've got this in your parcel data, we can populate it. We can set a category so that you can track this information. We have a question about, how was this received? You can track all of that. But now we're just going to add a start date for this activity. And when I click save on the file, it's going to create the file. So that was like a 2-minute data entry to get a file created. We have tabs across the top, just like a permit, but they're slightly different. Here's your history tab. It lists the activities that have occurred on the file yet. The contacts tab is going to list our associations on this file. So here we have Ginny. I want to point out this other files link. This is going to show every other file that this contact is associated with. So if I look at permitting, there's 1. If I look at licensing, there's 2. And if I look at code enforcement, I'm wondering if this is displaying for you yet, because when I look at your GoToMeeting, it doesn't. Oh, it's there. Okay, if I display code enforcement, then you get the full listing of everything that she's ever reported. So that gives you an idea of how this user is using your site. So on the activities tab in code enforcement, we're listing our inspection activity. So let's go out on site and let's complete this activity. So let's pretend I'm taking my laptop out to do this. For code enforcement, they're going to load violations. So this is the violations button, and I can sort by selection or by section. So if I look at property maintenance and I look at my description, I can pick overgrown vegetation, which is likely to harbor weeds. I can give a follow-up date, we'll say 2 weeks. And this is a wizard. So when I click save and add another, number 1, it's prompting me to schedule a follow-up activity based on that follow-up date that I created. So with 1 click, I've added my follow-up activity. And now I have a clear screen. I can select my next violation, which is abandoned wrecked vehicle. And in this one, I'm also going to give them 2 weeks. So at this point, I'll save, and I've added my 2 violations. Now let's upload some photographs to go with those violations. So I've clicked document on the left-hand side, and I'm able to select an abandoned vehicle and a weeds picture. And we'll upload both of those. So with this interface, I can link the photographs with the violation. So here's my abandoned vehicle, and here's my weeds. Here's my vegetation, and I can save. So back on this activity, we also want to generate an inspection notice. So here's my follow-up activity. We've created 2 violations. We have uploaded some photographs. We'll put in a completion date and a status of follow-up required. And then I'm going to generate a letter. Now, this could also be defined as an email. There was that conversation at the beginning. This is going to allow me to generate 2 if I wanted to. I'm just going to create this notice of violation for the property owner. It's prompting me to upload photographs. I can use the show thumbnails button to verify. And now this is an example of a letter variable for certified mail. But if you needed to enter hearing information, or if you had to track a license number at this point, this is just the ability for your inspectors to add information right at this step in the process. And now we can generate this letter. So here we see our notice of violation. It has the violation description, the short description, the long description, any comments that were added on the activity, which in this case I didn't add any, and then that corrected by date. Oh, I guess I didn't add comments to either one, but you don't have to, but that's an option. If your inspector wants to add an additional comment, we can include those comments in these letters. And then as I scroll down, you get our case photos. So this email can be printed out to your Bluetooth printer in your car and posted on site, or it can be emailed out, or it can be, so this, I'm going to save this to file, but you could also attach this notice in an email and email it out if you wanted to. So here we've done our first inspection activity. We've logged 2 violations. So I'm just going to switch to the violations tab. You can see those 2 violations. They're both in an open status. If you wanted to correct either of them, you could go in individually and do that, or you can also do that through an activity, and there are no fees left. So let's imagine that time has passed and it's time for our reinspection. So I'm going to jump into that reinspection activity. And here it's opened up on the 9th. So let's imagine, right, that it's the 9th. Let's say we go out to the site and no changes have been made. If I wanted to take more photos and upload it, I could. If I wanted to, I could also select each violation from this window and I could read it. I could also edit it. So here I can say no changes on return visits. I could add another follow-up date here, but I'm not going to at this point. I could also make comments here. No changes to violations persist, generating citation notice. So I'm going to add a completion date. We're in the future now, so it'll be on the 9th. And we're still going to say follow-up required because these haven't been addressed. But now we're going to generate a citation notice. So I select my letter from the letter generator, and then we go ahead and select our letter. In this case, it's just asking me to upload photographs, and I can generate. And here we can see, in this instance, there's a $250 fine assigned. And what has really happened is in the background, a SQL process is kicked off to add a $250 fee to this for each violation. And there you can see our letter. So I'll save this to file. So now we've got this whole history of documents. You can see what has happened on this file. And on the activities tab, you can see that we've completed these 2 activities. Now, if this never gets addressed, right, and you have to escalate this file, you can do that by creating a custom report. It's going to gather all of the data on this file. We'll click select all, and I can uncheck anything that I don't want to include. I'm going to include both activities, but I'm going to uncheck these extra photographs because they're also included in the picture. And if I want to hide Ginny's name, I just uncheck her. And then when I submit, you can see we've got the whole header information for the file. Citizens information is blank. We have 2 violations here. We have the chronological history of the file, and then we have our notices. So there's our ticket notice with our fees and our pictures, and then we get into our violation notice. So this can be printed out and handed off to another department, or it can be saved as a PDF and it can be emailed out. But this is one way to escalate information on in a really easy way. We can manage court information. We can schedule hearing dates. We've got a lot of great setups for code enforcement. So this is just showing you the highlights of how that works. If you have questions, please do text them to or chat them to Ray or ask them out loud. We are going to switch over. Oops, wrong profile. We're going to switch over to our test environment. So it might be a little bit slow in here, but we do health inspections out of St. Charles. They do a business license for restaurants, and then because they're doing this for so many across the county, they have their county split up into districts, and they have different inspectors assigned to those districts. So what we're looking at are different metrics. These are total District 1 licenses, and then it lists which ones have overdue or which are due this month or which are due in future months. And then they call out aquatic centers and lodging establishments separately. So they have these metrics for every district. And each inspector is going to go through. Let's look at the overdue queue here. This is a copy of a test environment or a copy of their production environment, so we're not making any changes for them. But what they would do is they would say, show me a high risk category that maybe had a low score. Oh, these are medium risk. Maybe, oh, here's one, this restaurant here. we're going to open up this business license. Now, a license file is going to look a lot like a permit file. It's called a business license. It has all of these very similar tabs that we've seen on the permit. The difference between a permit and a license is that a license goes through a renewal process. So here we can see there's a renewal status here. They've completed their renewal, and there's this more information button here that gives us information about that process. So they completed their renewal on 1/2 of 2020. So for them, they look at this business license and they decide they want to schedule an inspection. So we're just going to do that from the left-hand side. And then I select the inspection type I want. And in this case, it's going to be a food establishment inspection. Now, this is a very involved form. This took a lot of coding to get all of these custom fields here. But what we were doing was replicating a paper form that was pretty complicated. So we can put in our time in, which in my case is 7:44 a.m. We can list anybody that's also present, and we can start filling out. Are they compliant with this Smoke Act? We'll say yes. We can list the person in charge, Nancy Jones. We'll try to spell everything correctly. We can list the food manager name. We can say, is there current certification? We can give an expert of the 22nd. And now we can start filling out this form. Now, we don't have to indicate these fields because they're not required, but I am going to try to fill this out so that we can see what it looks like in the report. So all of these fields are going to translate to their inspection report. So we can set up checkboxes or text entry. In this case, we're going to say it's public water and public sewage. We're not going to sample the water. But here is their inspection form. So they've defined all of these questions, and they've defaulted everything to be in compliance. So if we get to an item that's not in compliance, we can say, oh, good hygiene practices. We'll say not in compliance. When we select this, it's now presenting us with additional fields to fill out. So in the comments field, I get to select a comment. I can make an additional comment here. And I can set a points deduction. We'll say 5 points. And then we can set it corrected by date. So you need to get this done in 10 days. And as we scroll down, if we had anything else, we could select another one, not in compliance. And then we can select, in this case, there are 2 different options that are applied under this category. So I can give a points deduction and we can set another corrected by date. Now, they wanted the ability to mark each of these because their existing paper form was pretty in-depth. So the system is also automatically calculating it. So you can see that they've got a very involved form. We're at question 29, and we're at the end of this section. So we've got a total point deduction of 7 points. And then we're into the new section. So here I can say we need to use the right kind of egg. So we'll say not in compliance. And in this case, there's no other point selection, so I can say use the right eggs. And we can set a points deduction of 5. And then as I scroll down again, you can see all of these other fields that have been defined that they're addressing at every point. And we're making it as easy as we can for the inspector because everything is marked as in compliance. All they have to do is trigger the things that are not in compliance.
Is this the field inspector application, or is it in-house from the desktop?
She's doing it from the desktop right now, but she could absolutely be doing it from the iPad. And Mish, even as we go out there, if you could save this before, can you pull it up on this one that you started here and just pull it up on your iPad?
Oh, let's see if I can, I've got to switch users really quick. Let me get that done. And in the meanwhile, I think what I'll do is I will open this back up. Here's another example. They're capturing the signature of the person.
Yeah, I wanted to see that on the iPad. Misha, can you do that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll clear this. Let me just give me a second and we will log into DC test.
We want to save this.
Good call. We'll go all the way up to the top and we will save. So I don't have my website here, so I'm just gonna, I need to pull up another, I need to pull up a cheat so I can find my URL. Oh, there it is. It is in here. All right, so we got to hop back into the truck, right? We've got to get out on site. Let's see if I can get logged in here. Uh-oh. Sorry, I'm having to manually type in my password. And it doesn't seem to be working. Oh, the pressure of doing a live demo. Hold on just a second. We will get there. So, Ray, I'm not able to log in as this user. Hold on just a second.
Try logging out as this user. In DC test.
All right, your job is to remember 3017, okay?
Got it.
It's in your mind as a steel trap, right? All right, let's see if this is just a number of logins issue. Do you know, it's not. I'm going into DC test. I'm going to pull this off screen really quick so I can view the password that's on here without showing it to all y'all. That's the plural of y'all, you know. Okay. I finally got it. It was total user error, as it usually is. So let me get this emulator up. Just got to reconnect it. Fortunately, your inspectors don't have to pull up an emulator when they do it. They can just take their devices out, and if they're connected to the internet, and if they know their password, they'll be able to get into the system. All right. So without further ado, good grief, here is our emulator. Okay, here's your test. What was that license number?
3017. Job is done for the day.
You can go home now. Oh shoot, let's do this. 3017. So this is the quick search option that's up in the top of the screen. I'm putting it in the license field, and then it'll let me go right into that license. So I can go back into our inspection activity. And here we can see this whole history of all of these inspections that they do, right? So let's go into our activity, and we're on our iPad. So from here, the screen is going to be a little bit more condensed, right? Because it's a smaller workspace, but all of this information displays and is accessible. So as we scroll down, we were just about to get to the signature, but why don't I add another violation? I'm just going to use my stylus and select not in compliance. And then it gives me these additional fields that I can fill out. In this case, it gives a drop down where I get to select a 5-point deduction. And I get to select that. Now, this may be a more complicated field than your form than you want, but we can build your forms to whatever level of technical complexity that you need. So down here is the acknowledgement. So you would just click this button, and you can either use your touchpad, on your template. Sorry, on your iPad. I'm just going to use my stylus.
Right, so this is the person in charge signature.
Oh, do you know what? I just signed my name, so let's go do that again, because the person in charge was Nancy, right? I just had an identity crisis, so let's try that again. It's always a bad sign if you ask Nancy for her signature and she signs Misha. Let's see, look, I can't even do it. All right, so now we are ready to complete this application. So I was going to bring you down to the bottom and show you that we have these points totals. In gray, it says starting point 100, and then there's a deduction of 7. It's gray, and then there's a good retail practice deduction of 10. So our total score is 83. Down at the bottom, I can choose to add a follow-up inspection, and then it'll ask for the inspection date. I just say I'm going to come back in 2 weeks. And then I can add a reinspection fee here as well. And there's this great little shortcut at the bottom. There's this arrow that I can click, and it'll take me all the way back up. And here, I suppose I should add a start date. And we'll add a completion date. And we'll give a status. In this case, we'll say follow up. And now let's generate that report. So I'm going to select this letter generator. And it's going to just kidding. This is set up as an email, so we're going to select that email template. So you can see that we can set documents up to print out from your printer, or we can set documents up to email out. And in this case, I'm going to select this food establishment inspection report, and then I'm going to address it. So all of these users in here at the top, these are applicants on this license. In the center, these are all external users, and we can see, let's add me as an external contact really quick. We'll just say, we'll put in my Citizenserve. And then it asks if we want to share this contact. We'll just say me. So now I can address this to myself. And I'm going to go ahead and send this out. This is a really big document. So I'm going to send it, and then when it comes into my inbox, I'll show you. But what I'll do right now as this generates is I'm going to take you to the Documents tab, and I'll show you a previous one. You can see why it's going to take a couple seconds for this to load.
And we're in DC tester again, so it's quite a bit slower than production is.
Yes, this is true. So while that works in the background, I'm going to take you to the Documents tab so that I can at least open up one of these files. So every here is a food establishment report. This was done on 12/13. Sorry, I'm pointing with my stylus. I know that that doesn't help you actually see. So I'm going to open it up. This is what that form is inputting data into, is a template that looks like this. And this is almost an exact replica of their paper form that they used to fill out by hand. So we can see different points deductions listed in each of these individual rows. And as I scroll down, you can see just how detailed this form is. The temperature observation, those were all input in that activity by the inspector. And as we scroll down, you can see that the inspection type was checked off in water and sewage. And then their observations and corrective actions are included here at the bottom of the form. And then they include the inspector's signature, and there's that person in charge signature with the rating at the bottom. So let me just check and we'll see if that email has come through. In fact, if we close this letter down, we'll get to see it still hasn't generated yet. So I'm a little suspicious that it's that this is just an example of being in our test environment and it churning on a big document. But at least you got to see the output from another one. So I'm going to close down this emulator are there other questions about what you can see and do on the iPad? Hopefully you can see that with all of these tools, you can go back to the review activity. You get to see, oh, there's no review route on this license. You get to see the full history of all of the inspections that occur. And you can see there are a ton here. In fact, if we look back at that 1219 food establishment inspection, I bet you that it's going to be this one that happened on 1213. We can at least see, what was checked off in this box. So you can see that it correlates with what was on that form.
All right, we got just a couple minutes here. Do you guys have any other questions? Anything else we can answer or show you real quick?
I'm all set.
I have a question. This is Bill. On the calendars, when you set a reinspection, does that work like a Google Calendar where you can set yourself a reminder, to pop up on your phone or whatever and say tomorrow you have an inspection?
Yeah. So yep. So when anything that goes on the calendar, each person can choose to say if something gets added to my calendar, also send me a calendar event to put into your Outlook or your Gmail calendar. So you can get that information and it'll automatically send it to you. You save it in there, and then it's on your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was a lot. We went through a lot there. Good job, Misha.
Sorry, not sorry.
Any other questions or anything before we head out here?
This is Ted. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
All right, good. Because I was having trouble getting my little green light thing there back on the computer. But did anybody? It's kind of a ugly subject. Did anybody bring up like the integration with like city hall systems and time of day with money being joined or transferred to Munis, and there was a couple other problems we had.
So we talk about that. So the city hall systems, we've already done that integration. The way that our integration with payment processors work is we've got about 20 that we've done integration with, which they are one. So there wouldn't be any charge to do that. And then in terms of the timing, that'll be used on the portal. So when someone's paying on the portal, they would be paying through the city hall systems gateway. Then that information is going to go, the request is going to go from the shopping cart to city hall systems. They'll check with the appropriate credit card company. If it's a good transaction, then they'll come back. They'll take the money from the credit card company, put it in your merchant bank. Then we'll do an end-of-day closeout process for you that, for each department, we'll write reconciliation reports that allow them to, reconcile what they've received for the day, both online and or over the counter, and make those look like whatever you want. And then at the end of the day, we'll create a report for finance to run after everything's reconciled in the format that your general ledger needs to be uploaded that evening.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly the way it works with some of the other products we use.
And Ray, it's at midnight, right? We had problem with People GIS being at 10 p.m., which wasn't covered. This is like a midnight thing, right? So it kind of like a worldwide bank kind of thing.
Are you talking about what goes into the general ledger or the
Yeah,
deposit
like
from?
the timing for the synchronizing or whatever this is, or is it like instantly live no matter what time of day you do everything?
I mean, all of the cash position at Citizenserve is going to be live, but that reconciliation would be at the end of the day. You guys would look at that and go, yeah, everything I've received matches everything that Citizenserve has to say. Then you generate the file that goes to your general ledger, and if you put that like on a file share or something, it doesn't really matter. It'll you guys are going to run it from that point on to pick it up.
Okay. All right.
And I've just pulled up an example of a reconciliation report. This includes the transactions from today. Remember that this is just an example. We would set yours up according to your your financial systems requirements.
Hey, if I could just ask Joe Schuler really quick to throw some detailing on here. Because, Joe, what was the problem with the tax lien stuff and People GIS and Munis? There was some kind of thing where it wasn't updating and people couldn't get off the list or something. That was like a giant thorn, but I'm hoping that something like this will go away too with this product.
I'm unaware of a tax lien issue. City Hall system gets a daily update from our real estate taxes and utility billing every single day.
It had something to do with somebody making a payment at night. Like somebody making a payment and it not posting and the inspector's still going out, or I can't remember what it was. So if you weren't involved, then I'll have to ask.
Yeah, I'm not certain about that.
All right, never mind then. Well, that's it for questions from me, guys. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you guys all so very much for your time today. If you have any questions, just let me know. Or if there's something else you guys want to set up another time to demo something else, we're more than happy to do that too.
Yeah, great, Ray. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time today.
All right, take care.
You too. Have a good day. Bye.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.